next, when the next expansion comes out, there will be a new rotation of cards. And it is going to include League of Explorers, Ungoro, Kobolds and Catacombs, and Razakan's Rumble, and the newest expansion. So I'm going to quickly. I will I will for sure be streaming Arena tomorrow at 2 p.m. But I'm going to do a review for now. So anyone who's leaving now, good night and thanks for hanging out. Okay, so Raven Idol is awesome. It might be too high bucketed, but discovering a spell is just like you basically always discover a spell, and it's just discovering a spell is great. Very flexible. An awesome card. Mounted Raptor is also a very good card. It's sticky. Like it's not great stats to start, but 1-drop stats, they generally have 3 stats. We'll have to check how they are, but it's a very solid card. Jungle Moonkin is no longer a beast for some reason, and it's pretty bad. There aren't too many spells in Arena. So, the 4-mana 4/4 that once in a while will help you, and once in a while will destroy you, so not very good. Dart Trap is pretty bad. It's random, pretty easy to play around. Flora's Hat is generally underwhelming. But like it can give you a value trade, but generally hunters don't go for that line of play. So it's an okay card, but it's bad in hunter. Desert Camel, like it's gonna be a value meta probably, so your opponent probably won't have too many 1-drops in their deck. And you can build your deck around it, so it might be okay. It should be a solid tempo card, because you can decide how it works. Forgotten Torch is solid. It's removal, and then you get a pretty sweet card added into your deck. But if it's bucketed with things like Fireball, it's really not that great. So it just depends how it's bucketed. Animated Armor is another 4-mana 4/4 that rarely helps you. Ethereal Conjurer is an amazing value card. It's also super slow. But if the meta is going to be moving to a slower pace, it could be really good. Mage has a lot of spells that can really turn the game around. Sacred Trial is terrible. It's one of the easiest secrets to play around. Keeper of Uldaman is insane. You can buff 1/1s with it to be aggressive. You can turn gigantic minions to 3/3s and just kill them. This is going to be a top bucketed card. And we'll see if it's even going to be pickable. Because there's a good chance it's going up against True Silver and such. Anything can happen is never draftable. Museum Curator is... It should be good because, well, it'll probably be a more value meta, and Obsidian Statue will be in the pool, I believe. I think Obsidian Statue is Kobolds and Catacombs. We can check on that later. But there are a lot of good Death Rattle cards, including legendaries like Cairn. You can't get Sylvanas anymore, which was like the best one to grab with this in the past. But in the past, this card was absolutely insane. And it looks like it'll probably still be very good. Eviscerated Evil is... It's probably good. I'm not I was never sure how good it was when I was playing. But for control decks, it should be good. Like it's big AoE. Entomb is card advantage. You dodge the death rattle of a card potentially and add it to your deck. It's pretty expensive, but given the meta, I think it'll be a good card. Pit Snake is just a good one drop. I don't know if one drops will be very good in this meta, but should be solid. It's poisonous, so depends how good Rogue and Mage are, because Rogue and Mage kind of just deal with it. Unearthed Raptor is a spider tank with a possible bonus. It's pretty hard to pull it off, because generally with your 3-drops you want to tempo them out. There aren't a whole lot of 2-mana death rattles that you're going to have on board that you're going to want to copy other than like Loot Hoarder or something. So it's basically a spider tank in the vast majority of situations. Tomb Pillager is like a low-key awesome card, because like you can always coin it out and not feel bad about it, because you just get the coin back. So even though its stats are not ideal, they're good enough, and adding a coin to your hand is pretty good, especially in Rogue. So I really like. I would fill up my deck with a bunch of Tomb Villagers. Tunnel Trog. I don't know how good 1/3s will be, and like I don't think this will be a very good card. It'll probably be bucketed pretty highly, and it will definitely not be worth it. Because like you're gonna run into stuff like Tar Creepers. After you play a battle card, minion deal 2 damage to a random enemy. The stats just aren't good enough. It's a little difficult to pull off. And it's a random enemy, so it's not even a random minion. This card isn't very good. You need the 3 attack on it. Everything is awesome is actually a decent burst card. It buffs your it buffs your board more than like a Stormwind champion. So it can be used for burst. It'll probably be bucketed really low. So I actually think it's takeable, because I think it'll be bucketed low enough that you can draft it, and then it'll be like surprise burst. Like it should be bucketed below Bloodlust. And if you have a few, like there are some solid Murlocs, and if you just have those on the board, this card becomes insane. Reliquary Seeker is just a 1-mana 1/1. Curse of Rafam is just like a 2-mana Mind Blast. It's a little bit better than that, but it's really not that much better. It would need to be bucketed with like Goldshire Footman to take. Not very good. Dark Peddler is really good. You get cards like Mortal Coil and Soulfire and Voidwalker. It's really good. You can't get Power Overwhelming anymore, sadly, but it's a really strong card. Cursed Blade is terrible. Fierce Monkey is solid. I don't even know if it's as good as Tar Creeper though, but it's a very solid card. And Obsidian Statue is pretty solid. I mean it creates value over time, and it's a war golem. A Murloc Tiny Fin is a wisp. Sir Finley Murgleton is good in in classes with bad hero powers. So like Shaman, for example, if you could turn that hero power into like a mage hero power, awesome. In Warrior, that hero power is like Shaman is a lot. I think this is probably best in Warrior, Because Warrior has the worst hero power. So, because it says a new basic hero power, so you can't even, it's 3 of the 8 other hero powers. You can't get your own again. But in classes like Rogue and Mage, you would take a different legendary. Huge Toad is, so there will no longer be Pinch Clan Hogsteed. So 3/2s will be better than 2/3s again. And this is one of the best 2 mana 3/2s you can have. Jeweled Scarab is a really good value card. If the meta is slow enough, it'll be a really good card. We'll see. Brand Bronzebeard, as long as it's not with like the best legendaries, it should be very draftable. And you can get some really good value for them. Ancient Shade is absolutely terrible. It's poorly statted with a, I mean, it's not, you basically get +2 attack and take 7 damage. Really bad. Fairy Statue basically can never attack, so it's pretty bad. Elise Starseeker is generally too slow for Arena. Luckily, the stats are okay. So, but it's probably going to be bucketed too high, honestly. Yeah, it'll just be bucketed too high because you play Elise, and then you get a card that says 2 mana draw card, and then it puts a monkey in your deck. And I think the monkey might even it's either a 3 mana 6/6 or a 4 mana 6/6 or a 6 mana. I can't remember. But the 4 mana 6/6. Okay, so, but that takes incredibly long, and I don't think it's gonna be a fatigue meta. If it is, Elise will be like top tier, but I don't think we're gonna be going that slow. I hope not. There will not be enough mechs. Otherwise, Gorilla Bot would be alright, but we're basically losing every mech, and it was already kind of difficult to pull off. Tomb Spider is a solid value card. It's like a worse version of Messenger Raven, but it's still alright. Anubishath Sentinel is pretty slow. It's just too slow, and you can play around it. And you can, like, it'll be bucketed really low, but it'll be bucketed really low for a reason. It's absolutely terrible. Jin of Zephyrs is pretty okay statted, and if you can pull off this effect, it's insane. It's a little hard to judge the card, because it was an epic, which means you could almost never draft. You didn't get offered epics very much back in the day in Arena, but this card might be insane in like Paladin decks. Might be a sleeper. Summoning Stone is really slow. I remember having some success with it, but it is really slow. Probably not pickable. Reno Jackson and generally isn't good enough. You're gonna want duplicates in this meta. So it's basically a 6 mana 4/6 that's gonna be bucketed way too high. Wobbling Runs is, it's okay stats for what you get, but it's really slow. Fossilized Devilsaur is actually decent. It's like a neutral Ironbark protector. If you have enough beasts in your deck, it can be okay. It's probably just too slow, but it depends how much big stuff there is in the meta. It might be okay, because we're not going to have Kraken or Dig Day. I love Archvillain Rafam. So when you play Rafam, you get 3 options. You can fill the board with 3/3s. You get 3 options of 10 mana spells. One is give a minion +10/+10, and the last one is deal 10 damage, like Avenging Wrath. So the deal 10 damage is pretty terrible. But the other two, the fill your board or give a minion +10/+10, are both really good. If the meta is slow at all, I think Archvillain Rafam is an awesome card, which is why I wanted to craft this one golden instead of the Reno, but chat had other plans. And that is League of Explorers. Moving on to Ungoro. Earthen Scales is... +1/+1 in general isn't enough, and the armor is irrelevant in Arena. Tritolan Forager is a really good value card because basically it's like you play a 2-mana 2/2, it's okay, and then you add a minion that's usually pretty good to your hand. So, it's just great value. Older Longneck is pretty bad. It's not... The condition is just too hard to satisfy. And this sitting in your hand is absolutely terrible. This card is just too expensive for the meta. Will be too expensive for the meta, I would say. Basically, you need, like... sometimes it can be okay in token decks. I don't think token Druid will even be possible. So, I think Druid is just going to be abysmal this meta. But we'll see. Evolving Spores is bad. Shell Shifter is okay. I mean, it's basically a Sejin. Fieldmaster. A Living Mana is generally pretty bad. It's, basically you play this and then they kill off, like, 2 or 3 of them, and you just don't have enough mana to capitalize it on the next turn. Verdant Longneck is below average. Giant Anaconda is it's terrible. It's too hard to build around. And Tyrantus is just too slow. It's actually pretty hard to kill, but it's still pretty bad. Oh, there's actually gonna be, like... Actually, no. It's terrible, because there's gonna be a decent amount of poison with the adapts. So it's really bad. Jeweled Macaw is a good value card. You add a beast to your hand. The 1/1. It's alright. Raptor Hatchling is actually pretty bad. Shazam HS, thank you for following. Glad you enjoy. Yeah, this card is pretty bad in general. I guess it could be okay in a really aggressive deck because it's just a 1-mana 2/1. The Death Rattle, if anything, hurts you because you're gonna want to be drawing better cards than that later in the game. Stampede is not playable. Crackling Razor Maw is a really good... Oh, I don't have a golden one. Wow. It's really, really strong. Like, imagine playing a 1/1 and then giving it poisonous or even just plus attack. It's really good. A Dinomancy, you can't get enough... Basically, every minion in your deck would have to be beasts. And even then, it's still a pretty slow card. But if every minion in your deck is beast, Dinomancy deserves consideration. Grievous Bite is pretty solid removal. It's cheap and it's wide. Terraskull Stalker, the vast majority of the time, is 3-mana 3/3. So, pretty bad card. Pulvar Warden is alright. You can, if you have enough, if you've drafted enough 1-drops, you can pick this and it'll help thin your deck. It can be okay. Swamp King Dread is a lot of stats, but also there will be a lot of poisonous minions. So I don't think it'll be any good. Arcanologist is solid stats and you draw a secret, so generally you get offered an Arcanologist early and then you take it and then later on you can get a secret. And it's really good. at that point. Like, a 2-mana 2/3 draw card is insane. Flame Geyser is just a solid early card. You get the 1/2 elemental. It's okay value. It depends what it's bucketed against, but it's a really solid card. Primordial Glyph should be insane. Like, it's not as good as... So you wouldn't take Primordial Glyph over a good mage spell? But, like, it's like you invest in Primordial Glyph, and then you get something like Meteor that your opponent can't play around a 4-mana Meteor. And it's insane. Pyros, I love Pyros in Arena. Be careful, do not trigger the Death Rattle, or else the card literally leaves the board and goes to your hand. So let it die. And, yeah, it's a ton of value. Like, 2-mana 2/2's okay, 6-mana 6/6 okay. 10-mana 10/10's pretty slow, but, like, it was all generated from one card. I really like Pyros. And it looks really cool too, golden. Shimmering Tempest. Mage spells in general are pretty good. I think they'll be pretty good with this set as well. So, Shimmering Tempest should be solid. Might be bucketed too high though. Mana Bind is pretty bad usually. Because it's like you go first and then they play the coin. It can be okay if you time it well. I think Molten Reflections is a underrated card. I think it's actually decent. Like, Unsleeping Soul has its place, and this card doesn't silence your minion. So I think it's actually decent. Steam Surge, there's a lot of elementals in Ungoro, and there's a decent amount of elementals in the future sets, so Steam Surger probably won't be that difficult to pull off a battle cry with, and adding an okay spell to your hand is just really good, especially when the stats aren't that bad. Meteor is ultra premium. It might be the best mage card in the next set. Really good. I might have to craft it golden. Adaptation is really weak. Lost in a Jungle, it's really good value. It's like Living Roots without the option. So if you're playing really aggressive, it'll be good. I don't think the meta will be really aggressive, so it probably won't be that good. But it could potentially be alright. But I do think value will matter a lot in this meta. Battlecry, discover a secret. Hydrologist is... secrets will they have? I might have to go back. I don't know what secrets there will be. I don't think the secret pool will be that big. Because basically you don't have Avenge. Because that's Naxxramas. And I don't think we'll have Getaway Kodo. Although, wait, Getaway Kodo might be, Kobold. Let me check super. Okay, no. That's Frozen Throat. Okay, so Getaway Kodo is not here. So Hydrologist is pretty bad, or is not as good as it used to be. A Primal Fin Champion, it might be okay. Basically, so the hardest cards to judge are the epics. Because epics were not offered very much before the bucket system. So this would get put up against really strong cards. If it's not put up against really strong cards, I could see it being very okay. It'll also depend on how many Spike Ridge Steeds we get offered. Because if you're only getting offered a Spike Ridge Steed in like 40% of your runs, that strongly lowers the strength of Paladin. So, but if you're getting offered a lot of like if you get offered Spike Ridge Steeds at the rate you get offered Walking Fountains, then this could be a really good card. Because getting through one Spike Ridge Steed is annoying. Getting through a lot, it's like getting through a lot of Walking Fountain. Light Fuse Stegodon, I don't think this is a good card. A lot of Twitch chat players love using it, but I don't think it's very good. Spike Ridge Steed is insane. It'll be in the top bucket. Hopefully, it won't get taken too much. I think Sunkeeper Term will probably be the best legendary in this arena set, even with Torture around. Because there's no Godfrey or Lich King to compete with it. I don't think there will be a legendary better than Term. Vine Cleaver is bucketed too high to take, but it's one of my personal favorite cards. The value you get from it is insane. It's 7 mana for 6 1/1s and a 4/3 weapon. Which, so 6 1/1s basically is like at least 5 mana probably. And then a 4/3 weapon. I don't even think there is a 4/3 weapon. But that would cost at least 4 mana. So that's like 9 mana wrapped up in one card. And that's like super conservative. I don't know. You can just, if you have enough health, it'll bring you back into the game. And Dino Size can be alright. It's usually up against cards that are just better, like Vine Cleaver and Spike Ridge Steed. But the burst is really nice, and the fact that like you can even just cast it on Silverhand Recruit on turn 10, which makes it more playable. Binding Heal is terrible. Playable. Crystalline Oracle is solid. It's just a 1 mana 1/1. Gives you information and adds value. Radiant Elemental, the reduction of spell cost is pretty irrelevant, but still solid. Because, like, especially if you can get a lot of Power Word Shields, it's like a 2 mana 2/5 on turn 2 can be a real pain to deal with. Shadow Visions is an awesome. Generally, you don't get too many spells in Arena, and the spells you do get are usually pretty insane. So being able to get multiple copies of them is really good. We'll see how highly it is bucketed, but normally you want like almost as many Shadow Visions as you get. Almost. But like you need like the Mind Controls and Psychics. A Curious Glimmer Root is a pretty difficult card to use in Arena, because like in Standard you know exactly what the card is every time, but it's usually closer to like 50-50 for Arena, I would say. Like I would even say for me, like a great player, you're probably only looking at best like 75% of the time. And then if you're not a great player, you're probably looking at like 50-50 at best. So, it's a difficult card. And it's not amazingly statted. A Mirage Collar is pretty difficult to use. Trotolin Shellraiser is understated, and Death Rattles that require another minion on board can be difficult. So things are just too easily able to value trade into it. Lyra is one of my favorite cards in Arena, because it generates more spells. That lets you generate more spells. I really like it. I might craft it golden. Free from Amber is... Wait, I think I would rate this higher than most people, I think. Because I think it's one of the top legendaries in Arena. Free from Amber is solid. Like, cards like Obsidian Statue should be there. I'm pretty sure that's Kobolds. I can check that real quick. Crap, it's not Kobold. Was Obsidian Statue... Oh, crap. Okay, so there won't be Obsidian Statue. That is a big deal. That makes Free from Amber not as good. But we'll see if they add another really nice, big, neutral minion. They seem to have been like, if something like Shovel Fist exists, it'll be a pretty good card. Charged Devil Sword is still a card. So there will be good options. Might not be as good as it used to be, but it's a solid card. And one of the few good pre-spells that won't be in the top bucket. I've always loved Hallucination. It's just a solid card. A Razor Petal Lasher is a good card. It's normally over bucketed, but if it's not, it's like it doesn't usually feel too bad to play on turn 2. I've always liked it. Razor Petal Volley is absolute trash, but it's also paired with trash, so sometimes you have to take it. I will take Envenom Weapon first pick over basically anything but Feldori Strider and Bile Spine Slayer. I always want one Envenom Weapon because the amount of tempo you get going turn 2 Dagger, turn 3 Envenom Weapon, kill a minion, and next turn kill a minion. You just get so much tempo out of that, and if not, it can be even better. Because they were like scared to play a minion, so they'll try to bait it out. Mimic Pod can be okay value, but it's underwhelming. Obsidian Shard. It might be easier to play because it's easier, might be a little bit easier to get cards from another class. But in general, this card isn't great. It does give you initiative, so it might be okay, but I've never been overly impressed with this card. Karazhan was one of my favorite cards when it was in Standard, but it's just too hard to play 4 cards in a turn in a... I've tried. And Valspine Slayer might be the best non-legendary card this set. Pick it over literally anything else. Up to like 5 probably. Air Elemental is pretty bad. It basically is only good against Mage. And then they just play a 2-3 and you're sad. Fireplume Harbinger is too slow. Get enough value from it. Primal Fin Totem is actually solid, like especially if you go first. It's just a pain in the butt because like it's usually alive for at least 2 turns, and then you can protect it, and it just keeps getting value. It is super annoying. Hot Spring Guardian is solid. It's not overwhelming, but like you can heal a minion. You can like value trade heal a minion. The 2/4 with Taunt is pretty defensive. It's not as good as Tar Creeper, but it's an alright minion. Spirit Echo is a lot of value, but it's too greedy. So like there are cards that are value oriented that are good that because they also provide tempo. In general, Spirit Echo is too greedy. Because you need a board and then you need to play it and then they need to die. And it's just a lot of stuff you need to happen. Tidal Surge is basically 4 mana, deal 4 damage to a minion. If you need, like, removal is usually premium in Arena. So if you need removal, Tidal Surge can sometimes help out. Volcano will be premium. opponents normally can't count to 15. It's hard to put 15 stats on board in one turn. So it's generally a full board clear. And then later in the game, you can usually develop afterwards, which makes the overload hurt less. Stone Sentinel is... So it's not normally like super difficult to get an elemental played the previous turn, but the fact that this card is so expensive and the fact that it's absolutely unplayable without the elemental part helping it makes it... I don't think it's very good. It's a little bit... It relies too heavily on the elemental. Good. On the other hand, the Caligo spells are really good, especially the 3 damage to all opposing minions. They're really strong legendary. If you can discover it, you almost always should. Blood Bloom, generally you don't get enough spells in Arena that you would not... It's just a bad... It doesn't work in Arena. It barely sometimes worked in Standard. Clutch Mother Zavas is just a 2-mana 2/2. You'll never discard it. Corrupting Mist can be like a bad panic button. It'll probably be low bucketed. It can be okay though. Not great, but it you can do worse. Like if there's a bunch of 1/1s that you can't deal with, you can do it. Chittering Tunneler. I always thought this card was okay. It might not be able to get the job done, though. Because, like, the good spells are really expensive. We'll see what the spell pool looks like, but it's probably just a little underwhelming, because, like, you get stuff like Mortal Coil, but probably not that good. Alakari Fellhound is just terrible. Ravenous Pterodax is okay. But you need to be able to have tokens. But I mean, if you can get lackeys, it depends how easy lackeys are to get. I think because if it's not super difficult to get lackeys as Warlock, I think Ravenous Pterodax goes up in value. But it's a very okay card. Feeding Time is a very below average card. It's a very bad implosion. You can't high roll and it's... Turlurker is alright. It's very anti-aggro. It's a little expensive for what it does, but it'll keep you alive. World Dinomancer, it's just too hard to discard cards. And you might discard this card, which was always the problem when you tried to play this in Standard. So it's underwhelming. Ironhide is absolutely terrible. Some people like Molten Blade. I've never been a fan personally. The legendary weapons will be in Arena, so you can get Valinor off it. But you have to wait so long. I just prefer to take weapons that I'll know what they'll be. I've never been a fan of Molten Blade. Cornered Sentry is pretty bad. It's a 2-mana 2/3 with downside. I don't even know if Exploring Goros can be offered in Arena, but it's terrible if it is. Direhorn Hatchling. It's a solid card. It's a Fen Creeper, but with a Death Rattle that will give you a big tempo play later. It's I would say it's very average. Depends how tempo oriented the meta gets. Like I think Ordinary Direhorn is actually better, but if the meta is slower, then the Direhorn Hatchling is better. Sudden Genesis is pretty impossible to get value off of. It's too expensive for what it does. Control Warrior can exist, Tarlord will be a part of why it can. It is very tough to break through. And King Mosh is awesome. Basically, you just like bump in all your minions, you play King Mosh, and everything dies. And then you have a 9/7 against nothing. It's a very strong card. Emerald Hive Queen is a below average. Can make it work. Like, if you have no early game, you can make it work. But in general, it's pretty below average. Emerald Reaver is just a 2/1. Not great. Firefly will probably be one of the best 1-drops. You're gonna want 1 or 2 of them. Deck, probably. Solid. Glacial Shard. The other premium 1-drop. It's, freezing a minion is just nice, and it's got an okay body, but the effect is what you love about it. Galactica Crawler will most likely just be a 2-mana. 2/3, I mean, they've been giving Rogue Pirates this year, I think, so it might be okay against that. It might make, like, basically, recently you've been able to play Pirates freely, and you might not be able to do that anymore. So, early on, Galactica Crawler might be better, and then people will learn to not draft Pirates, so, freely. Ravenous Runt is not that hard to get the battle cry off, but generally, you would just rather have a 2-mana 3/2 or a 2-mana 3. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I actually don't know how to value it. I don't take too much, to be honest. A Rockpool Hunter is just a Crocolisk with a little upside. Like, I mean, it was never uncommon in the Razakhan meta for me to draft 2 of these, and then sometimes it would go off. And Gastropod will be a solid 2-drop. All of the poisonous will have value. Just the ability to trade up is very valuable, and removal is always at a premium. And the lackeys with Rush will make the poisonous minion even more valuable. A volatile elemental is very below average. It can do stuff, but it's just below average. It'll probably be bucketed as such. 2-mana minions that are understated are just really hard to run. Eggs are just unplayable. You can't get enough stuff to run them the majority of the time. Eggnapper is an average 3-drop. It's sticky, and it's a fair amount of stats for what you get. Another poisonous minion is just solid. Probably below average. It basically just depends on Warrior, if you need weapon removal, and Warrior probably won't be relevant, so Gluttonous will probably not be relevant. I don't even know if we'll be able to draft Humongous Razor Leaf. I think it might be that bad that they won't even have it in. Igneous Elemental is below average. It gives you some value, but it doesn't even give you that much value, and it's understated. Primal Fin Lookout. Most Murlocs are bad, so controlling a Murloc is usually not a great thing. And then discovering a Murloc can be okay, but it's understated. Like, this would be an okay card if you always got the Battle Cry, but you don't always get the Battle Cry, so it's a terrible card. Pterodex Hatchling is one of the most below average 3-drops that you might be forced to take. Like, you're basically hoping for it to be a 3-mana 3/3 or a 3-mana 2. And you have to get lucky to have a below average 3-drop. Stonehill Defender is very strong, especially in Paladin. It slows decks down. It's very versatile. It's a very strong card. Car Creeper will single-handedly slow down the meta to a screeching halt. This card basically makes it so aggro does not exist. And it does that all by itself. I wonder, what if they put it in the top bucket though? Just so and if this was in the top bucket, it would be back to an aggro meta, but it won't be in the top bucket. And there's gonna be like 2 of them in every single deck. Because it'll be interesting if it's in the same bucket as like Warbear and Scorcher. So we'll see how all those cards are bucketed. Thunder Lizard is okay. A lot of the elementals you'll be playing are lower costs, so it's below average though. Bright-Eyed Scout I think is a solid card, especially if it's a slower meta. Only paying 1/1 in order to be able to draw a card is really good. And yeah, it makes the card cost 5. Sometimes that's good. Like the majority of the time it's probably bad, but no matter what, you would be able to play the card the next turn, which makes it more okay. Wow, I have a lot fewer golden cards than I thought. Fireplume Phoenix is just a premium 4-drop. It gives you initiative, lets you do stuff going second. Nice. Gentle Megasaur is just 4 mana 5/4. There are barely any Murlocs. Spirit Singer Umbra is understated and incredibly difficult to pull off. Yeah, 3 mana 3/3s will be bad. Like they're like tolerable right now, but they will be bad. Meta. I think there will be a lot of Spider Tanks. Stegodon is below average. It'll be pickable, but it's not great. Silver Stone Shaper. If you have enough elementals, you can take it, but it's just a 4 mana 3/5, which I don't think will be good enough. Bittertide Hydra. You never want to play this against Shaman. I think it's a good card. It's a very difficult one to play with, though. And it's not for every deck. Like, Fel Reaver, I think it's a worse. It's definitely worse than Fel Reaver. Because you can it's easier to punish people with this card. And the punishments are more punishing. And there's a lot of taunts. And you don't want to be trading with something doing 3 damage to yourself. There won't be Defile, Patrick. Defile was Frozen Throne. At least the Trailblazer will be too slow. I think. I don't like the meta's gonna slow down. I don't think it's going to. I never play. I skipped playing, or I didn't play Arena competitively. This year. I was working full time and taking care of Holly by myself in Austin, from Ungoro to Kobolds and Catacombs. So, I mean, I made the leaderboards with Ungoro twice, but then I was playing much more casually. But at least a Trailblazer was always too slow. I loved trying to make it work. I crafted her golden. Thank you for following, Yapper. It's a decent stats, but generally the other legendaries will be better. Nesting Rock it's a strong card. It's not a super difficult. It's good without the battle cry, and it's very good with the battle cry. I've always been a fan of Servant of Kalamos. It's understated, but there's a lot of high roll. Like in Priest, you can get Lyra. You can get Pyros. You can get Kalamos. It's Servant of Kalamos. If you have enough elementals to trigger this, it'll be good. I love the value of Servant of Kalamos. Um, Frozen Crusher is below average, but it's a lot of stats, so you can make it work. Emmett Jungle Hunter is very deck dependent. I think it's okay, but the meta might be so slow that it's not okay. um, I don't think I would ever draft this early in a draft. But sometimes late, like a 6 mana 6/6 is okay. And it'll probably be bucketed pretty lowly, so it might be playable. Sabertooth Stalker is absolutely terrible. Blaze Caller it's basically like a better Firelands portal if you can get the battle cry off. And it's not the end of the world if you play a 7 mana 6/6. It's pretty bad. But this is a really solid card, especially if you can get the elementals. I've always been a fan of Sated Threshodon. A lot of decks that did really well during my 9.17 run had a Sated Threshodon in it, and it never made too much sense to me. But just the fact that it could come down a turn before Violet Worm, and it's a lot of stats. I always really like Sated Threshodon. Stormwatcher is underwhelming, basically unplayable. It's just not sticky. It doesn't have enough attack power. Volcanosaur is solid, but random. It was always fun having one in my deck. See how the meta shakes out, because it's not as good as Warbear, but it can be solid. Church Devilsaur will be premium. It's removal on turn 8. Same with Primordial Drake. These are basically going to be the King 8 drops, the meta. The neutral removal neutral AoE has always been premium. Neutral AoE doing 2 damage to everything is great. Although the meta might be so slow that you don't even need that. But it's still an amazing card. Trotolin Primalist is terrible. Do not draft this. I have tried to make it work. It is bad. Giant Mastodon is okay stats, but it's really slow, and you never would want more than one in your deck. And even one, they're just too slow and they don't do anything. Versus like a Shovel Fist that actually does stuff. Ozark is really bad. I didn't even have an Ozark in my collection for a long time, and Ultrasaur is bad. It's too slow. But it's a meme. Hey, Kobolds. This expansion was insane. I don't know if it was as insane for Arena. Barkskin is okay, but I would still say it's below average. But it would give you a value trade. Lesser Adjustable Spellstone, you would look at it as a 1 mana deal 2 damage to a minion. And if that's okay, you can take it, but it's usually below average. Greedy Sprite is also below average, but it's okay because it has an effect that'll usually go off, even though it's understated. Astral Tiger is bad. I don't think it's going to be a fatigue meta. If it's a fatigue meta, that's a solid card, but I don't think it's gonna go that slow. Because that's never been the game I've played. So, like it's fair stats, but it's gonna be bucketed too high to take. Branching Paths in general in Arena isn't like 4 mana draw 2 cards is really bad. I don't think tokens will be enough, and gaining armor won't be good. So I think this is just a bad card, even though it has the flexibility. Unless tokens are possible, I think it's just strictly bad. Ironwood Golem, it's okay stats. It'll basically never attack, but it's okay stats. Oaken Summons, you're gonna have 2 and 3 drops in your deck, so below average. Like, so this was good in standard because you would only have 4 drops. Look at the World Tree is bad. Unless you can hallucinate it in Rogue and then you play it on turn 4 and then on turn 5 you spend 3 mana and then you hero power and you go all the way up to 10 and you win the game on the spot. Ixalit is way too slow for Arena. It's unplayable. Grizzled Guardian is below average, but it's still okay, man. Druid is gonna be awful. Unless they just get the nuts buckets. Kindle Shot is really good anti-aggro. You can control the board early with it. It's a really strong card. The 2-drop, or it depends on the 3-drop pool. Towards the end of Razakhan, the pool was just terrible, making this card not very good. Cave Hydra, the stats aren't very good. It's not super easy to buff cards as Hunter. Flanking Strike is a premium card. It is a very good removal tool. Sleeping Oozling is bad. Add to my side is unplayable. You're gonna have minions back. Crushing Walls is alright. Especially in the beginning, people won't be playing around it. So, might be able to sneak a few wins if you go Hunter early. I probably won't be. Rakdalar is impossible. If it's a fatigue meta, maybe, because you would just play this when your deck is about to run out, but I don't think so. Katharina is okay. You just gotta make sure you have enough beasts. They don't even need to be that big to get value in Arena. So she's solid. Shifting Scroll is solid. Keep in mind when you discover Shifting Scroll with Primordial Glyph, it will lose it won't have the cost reduction. Arcane Artificer isn't playable. Sometimes I would put one in a deck if it was like super greedy to be like, I might need to live, but it's pretty unplayable. Lesser Ruby Spellstone is for the most part unplayable. If it's bucketed low enough, it might be okay, but so generally in Mage, your spells are going to be more expensive except against every class except like Priest. So Raven Familiar can be really good. Allowing you to draw those spells, especially if you don't have any cheap spells. Sometimes you can build your deck so that you just don't have a spell that's cheap. Which might be possible in this meta, which would make Raven Familiar okay. Explosive Runes is okay tempo. I'm generally not a fan of it in Arena. Leyline Manipulator. I really like this card. This card was really important for me on my 9.17 run. I would pair this with Blast Wave, and I would just get a handful of reduced cost cards. It was and we'll see. I have a feeling that it's not going to be super difficult to get random spells in Andis Mage. So I really like this card. It's a Chillwind Yeti with a ton of upside. It's an elemental, so it can trigger all those elemental cards like Servant of Kalamos. I'm a big fan of Leyline Manipulator. Deck of Wonders is 5 mana, do nothing. You do not want to play that card. Cat will probably convince me to play it once or twice, but it is bad. Dragon's Fury, I became less and less a fan of it as time went on. It might be okay, but I don't know. There are good cheap spells. that I found myself having to take. So that made Dragon Fury worse and worse for me as time went on. A Lunith, do not ever draft a Lunith. You will not be able to kill your opponent before you deck yourself. And Dragon Color Alana in general, you just won't be able to have enough expensive spells in your deck to get value from it. But yeah, so a Lunith, you lose a ton of tempo, and you won't be able to kill your opponent before you kill yourself with fatigue. Like, the games just aren't fast enough. Dragulch Jailer is pretty bad. Not a lot of tempo, and a handful of 1/1s aren't great. Healing yourself is really difficult, and I don't think the card pool is going to make it even possible. So, a 2-mana 2/2 with Taunt. A Potion of Heroism. This is an amazing card. It'll probably be bucketed really high, but it's super strong. Benevolent Djinn. It's understated. Not a big effect. So it's just below average. Unidentified Maul is strong. It's strong like 50% of the time. I get taunt with it so often that I really dislike the card, but I do respect its strength. Because if you get the one that gives all your minions Divine Shield, it is bonkers. Call to Arms. If it's bucketed low enough, I think it's okay. Because it thins the bad cards out of your deck and just pukes them out on the board. Even at 5 mana. I think it's okay, but the issue is it's normally paired against really good cards. Which makes it not okay. Because it is not a good card, it is an okay card. For specific situations, if you have enough cheap. But in that situation, it's a very okay card. Crystal Lion is alright. It's like a worse version of Dalaran Crusader. Is alright. Valinor, it's normally paired up against like Tarim and Tyrion, which makes it not the best choice, but nothing outvalues Valinor. Nothing outvalues this. I love getting it with Rogue. It's pretty solid. Lanessa, it's pretty hard to pull her off because you have to cast the spells first, obviously. It's pretty underwhelming, and it's just unplayable if you don't play Spike Root Steed first. So unless you have like 3 Spike Root Steeds in your deck, this is undraftable. Minimum 2 Spike Root. Psionic Probe, I've never been a fan. I see it get played by some people. I don't think it's that good. Dragon Soul is unplayable. Gilded Gargoyle is very below average. There are not enough dragons, I don't think. There are more dragons than there were before in the last meta, but I still don't think there will be enough to make Twilight Acolyte playable. I might be wrong about that, though. Yeah, Spikered Steed is back. It's Angora. I already covered it, though. Twilight's Call is below air. Like, if you get it at like the perfect timing, you could build a deck around it maybe, but it's not very good. Unidentified Elixir is, I think it's above average, being able to buff minions and value trade. And some of the elixirs are good. Divine Shield is good. Lifesteal can be really good. They're situational, but they're all good in the right spot. So I think Unidentified Elixir is solid. So yeah, Duskbreaker. It depends on how many dragons there are. I don't think I'd be willing to risk taking this with my first pick. But if you have like, if you have 3 dragons, definitely take Deathbreaker. If you have 2 or less, I would probably look elsewhere. But the effect is incredible. If you have less than 10 spells in your deck, don't ever draft this. If you do have more than 10 spells in your deck, probably still don't draft it. I had one really fun deck with it that had 17 spells in it, I think. It was still really hard to play. I like Psychic Scream. Other people will tell you it's bad because you lose the fatigue battle. But I think it's strong. You just need to build your deck that you will eventually be able to kill your opponent. Temporis is bad. I've lost games because I played Temporis. Kingsbane is terrible. Cavern Shiny Finder is... I don't think... I looked. There aren't any weapons that are any good. So it's bad. The stats are bad, and there aren't any weapons that are really worth taking. Unless there's a new weapon that'll be common, if that card is bad. I don't like Perdition's Blade, and I don't think it's good enough to take for it. So we have Rogue Secrets again. Heat Death is second worst. Evasion is the worst, and Sudden Betrayal can be okay, but pretty bad. They're only 3, so it's easy to play around. Early on, it might be okay, but after like a day, they'll be terrible. Sonya Shadow Dancer, I think some people can make her work. I really struggled to make her work in Arena, but you can do some pretty cool stuff. Elven Minstrel is awesome. It depends how fast the meta is, but being able to draw 2 cards and have a body is pretty good. Eldori Strider is insane. It's almost usually impossible to pick it because it's up against Bilespine, but like you can like you don't even need the high. If you don't high roll, it's okay. If you high roll, you just win the game. It's an awesome card. Kobold Illusionist is below average with high roll potential, and Lesser Onyx Spellstone is unupgradable. So just look at it as it is right now. It will always be Lesser Onyx. Unstable Evolution is okay. It's also a ton of fun. I really like the card. But you you want to have minions on board before you start playing. Because then you like value trade and then you start evolving and go off. It depends what it's bucketed against. It's like if it's against Volcano, you won't be able to pick it really. But it can be a lot of fun. Crushing Hand is strong removal. It's usually pretty good to have one. It's pretty bad. Old Hermit. Armoring Elemental is bad. The cards that you absolutely have to combo with something else tend to not work great in Arena because you're only going to have like 2 or 3 cards that it works with, and you need to draw them both. You need to be doing stuff while you're waiting for that. So unless that combo wins you the game, you can't really have both. Healing Rain is very below average. Primal Talismans is also very below average. Windshiro Stormcaller is basically never happened. So even if you're trying, you never pull this off. Grumble is actually solid since it makes the minions cost 1 and it doesn't make them 1/1s. So Grumble is really solid in Arena, to be honest. You generally don't overload enough to upgrade the Spellstone, which makes it pretty bad. And Rune Spear is bad because it's random targets and random spells. If you want an 8 mana 3/3 weapon, it's okay. But outside of that, it's not good. Death Pack only heals 4 mana and it kills a minion. It's bad. Kobold Librarian is great. It draws a card and it has a body. Very strong. Vulgar Homunculus. Towards the end of the Rotaion meta, I learned to respect this card a lot more. Its stats are really good on turn 2, and it has taunt. Very strong anti-aggro card. Cataclysm. Do not ever draft this card. Like, just don't do it. Hooked Reaver is average. It's normally bucketed against really strong cards. I would say it's a little above average. It's usually bucketed with amazing cards though, which makes it hard to pick. It can be good, but don't be fooled and think it's amazing on its own. Lesser Amethyst Spellstone. We'll have to see how many ways there are and how easy it is to get the cards that hurt yourself. I used to force it too much, and then I used to not force it enough. So there's definitely a place to be picking it. Okay. Skull of the Minari. A little bit of a trap card. It's usually unpickable. It's only pickable. I've tried to make it work. It's very hard, and I had Doom Guards in that deck. It's pretty bad. The Demon Pool will be solid. Possessed Lackey is too expensive. But Void Daddy will be an arena, which is the only reason why I was saying Skull might be okay. But there's no Doom Guards. So, yeah, you can't pick Skull. So yeah, Rin, the meta would have to come to such a screeching halt for Rin to be good. Rin is below average. I try to make her work sometimes, but it's a lot of seals for you to not die while playing. Bladed Gauntlets is terrible. Dark Whisker Armor is terrible. Just not enough stats. Kobold Barbarian is terrible. It's a worse version of Ogre Brute. Reckless Fury is terrible. Is it terrible? It's pretty bad. I guess maybe if you're desperate for AoE, but it's not very. Do I have all the cards? There's not a card that costs between 3 and 6. Gather Your Party is bad. You're gonna want minions that cost at least 3 in your deck. Gem-Studded Golem. This is okay. It's enough stats that it's okay if it doesn't attack. Unidentified Shield. The effects aren't good enough. It's pretty bad, I think. Well, the effects are okay, but it's just too expensive. If you can get Sulfuris or Sulthurais. If you can get Sulthurais consistently, Lesser Mithril Spellstone might be playable. But if you can't, it just won't be playable. Because you won't want... You probably... Like, Arathi Weaponsmith will be top bucketed. It'll probably be too hard to get enough weapons to make this work. But we'll see how the buckets work out. If it, like, when the buckets first came out, this was a good card. Because basically all the weapons were in separate buckets. But if that's not the case, this won't be playable. I like Geosculptor, yep. Very much more a win more card, but the stats are okay. It's a fun card. Woe Cleaver is a very strong card, even if it's just pulling out 3-cost minions, 4-cost minions. It's getting stuff done. Dire Mole is okay. Like, I usually would have like 1/1 drop in my decks, and if it was Dire Mole, that was fine. Feral Gibber is bad, but at the same time, if your deck is terrible, Feral Gibber is a win condition. Because it's possible for your opponent to just not be able to keep up with you having unlimited 1/1. If you can get it to attack. So it's a bad card, but at the same time, it is a win condition. So you need to respect it. The Gravel Snout Knight is bad. 1 cost minions on average have 3 stats. Whether it be like a 2/1 or a 1/2. And it just makes it bad. Wax Elemental is not draftable. Plated Beetle is a premium 2-drop. Crocolisk with upside. Scorpomatic is... It's an okay tech card, but generally you don't want it. Boisterous Bard is below average. Your 3-drops need to be doing something super powerful or be a spider tank or both. Dragon Slayer is super powerful. Makes Hungry Dragon undraftable. To be seen soon. Fungal Enchanter. Is a solid card. It's like slightly better than Earthen Ring Farseer. Because you can heal a minion and your face. So I think it's slightly better. And you don't need to target it or anything. Kobold Apprentice is okay. I would say it's like an average 3-drop. It has a battle cry that does some. The body is terrible though. Lone Champion is anti-aggro. Solid. Rummaging Kobold, unplayable. Sewer Crawler is basically as good as Razorfin Hunter. The opposite. Shrieking Shroom is a fun card. It's pretty bad, but I mean, like if you get it behind Tar Creeper and it can be hard to deal with, it can be okay. But I would say it's below average. But I mean, it can win games. It's anything that generates minions over time is just super. Stoneskin Basilisk is very strong. We're getting all the small poisonous. I hate drafting Toothy Chest. This card sucks. You basically have to be going first for it to be okay. And even then it can get punished. I think having a Void Ripper can be super clutch. I really like Void Ripper. If its bucket is low enough, I try to fit it in my deck. It's kind of like how I like to fit Blood Knight into my decks. I just think it's solid. Zola is a little too slow normally. In my opinion. Cursed Disciple. If you have any Death Rattle synergy, it's really strong. But it's okay. A very aggressive 4-drop. Eben Dragonsmith is rarely playable. It's really slow, and like having weapons is really rare. Hoarding Dragon is awful because Dragon Slayer exists. And people are going to be drafting Dragon Slayer because there are going to be some dragons. And 3 mana 4/3 is just okay. Kobold Monk, the stats are okay. It's below average though. But it just doesn't do anything. 4 mana 3/6 is fine normally. 4 mana 3/3 on the other hand is terrible. Shroom Brewer has a good battle cry. It's solid. It heals you or a minion. I like it. Sneaky Devil is terrible. Like a raid leader that's more expensive. Darkness. Don't ever get baited by the 4 mana 2020. I've pulled this off once. It is so bad. And the only time I pulled it off, he literally drew all 3 candles 2 turns. Arcane Tyrant can be okay in some decks. It's pretty hard to make it work though. So like it might be a value meta, but it's never been such a value meta that Carnivorous Cube was relevant. We might get to that point, but I've never seen it before. Corrosive Sludge is a 5 mana 5/5. If weapons exist, it'll be amazing. If not, it's okay. Fungomancer is going to be why you never allow 2 minions on board going into turn 5. I will almost always pick this card. It is so strong when you get on when you pull it off on turn 5. It is just at like a lot of the crazy cards got nerfed. Fungo was the one that didn't get hit, and it is this card it's below average. It has a condition, and the payoff isn't that good because the elemental doesn't do anything, and the card itself isn't an elemental. Green Jelly is okay. If you can protect it, it'll win you the game most of the time because it'll protect the rest of your minions. It's really annoying. It's an okay card, man. This meta is gonna be so different. It's so basically like the last two metas have been teaching me to value cards less and less, or value my play less and less for value, and now we're gonna have so much value. Guild Recruiter is an average 5-drop. The amount of stats you normally get are okay. Sometimes you high roll and get like a 4/4, and it's really nice. Frog Meter again is alright. It's pretty hard to do 5 damage without having to take a hit on a pretty solid minion. And Super Collider won't exist. Hungry Etzen should be solid. It's pretty RNG heavy, but it should be solid. It's a lot of stats, and even if the opponent gets it's like normally a 4/7. Sometimes they get Doomsayer, you're screwed. Sometimes they get. So yeah, it's an okay card. It does have massive downside though. Oh yeah, there's Snail. So yeah, there is a few bad hits. So like, it's definitely not premium, but it's solid most of the time. A Corridor Creeper. It's okay. Below average though probably. Like even it would have to be in your starting hand, and then on like turn 5 you play it, and it's not that impactful. Silver Vanguard is unplayable. Grand Archivist is bad. King Togwaggle is bad. Marin is bad. Violet Worm is a lot of value. Man, I know Boozer would sometimes draft like a lot of the, and I know Crip has had like 4 of these in his deck before, and you do not want to do that. You take 2 maximum of 2. I would normally stop at 1. But this is a big dude that's hard to kill. It's like it's the original eccentric scribe. This is just a value all over. Dragon Hatcher is bad. Master Oakhart's pretty good. Especially with a deck tracker. And you know what's gonna get summoned. Sleepy Dragon can be okay. Really slow though. Okay, final one. I'm running low on energy. Razakan's Rumble. Pounce. Give your hero +2 attack this turn. Not great. But I would say it's below average. Spirit of the Raptor. I don't think you can draft spirits. Regardless, this one is terrible. Savage Strike is not great, but it'll probably be bucketed too high, but it's a 2 mana 2/3, which I don't think is going to be great in this. I think we're going back to a Spider Tank meta. Ordred Lodi is below average. Probably won't want it. Druid is just gonna be so terrible. Like this is one of the best cards they're gonna have, and it's okay, but it's not that great. Predatory Instincts is 4 mana, do nothing. Maybe have a good play next turn. Transform your treants into 5/5 ancients. Terrible. Summon a random beast from your hand and give it rush. Majority of the time terrible. It's 6 mana, so you would basically have to have giant mastodons in your deck. It's really bad. Gonk is a 7 mana 4/9, and that's it. Ironhide Direhorn is probably the best also one of the best cards Druid is gonna have. This is an insane card, but every other Druid card other than Raven Idol is terrible. I love Raven Idol. I love this card. Everything else is just so bad. Druid will be at the bottom this next meta. What was the other? Oh yeah, War Druid Lodi. Okay. Spring Paw is very strong. It's removal. You get a Scavenging Hyena. You just win games. It's very strong. Headhunter's Hatchet, very strong. There's a lot of cheap beasts. 2 mana, 2/3 weapon is great. Revenge of the Wild, pretty difficult to pull off. But it can be pretty sick. Blood Scalp Strategy. So weapons are great. You're not likely to have them. Making this card not. And Master's Call is bad because you won't have a deck that's only beasts. I don't think you can get the spirits in Arena. Faded Arrow is a very strong card. It's great to have one in your deck. It's basically like Flanking Strike, and just as good basically. Except it can also go face, which is nice. This is below average, and Zul'jin is not draftable. Elemental Evocation is not playable in Arena. Daring Fire Eater is okay for removal. It's basically like a 3 mana deal 3 damage. You can look at it as with a 1 mana body. Is okay. Spirit of the Dragonhawk is draftable. Pyromaniac is insane. It's a spider tank. It can snowball and just win you the game. I love it. I'll probably make another one golden. Splitting Image is probably gonna be my favorite secret since it's one of the hardest ones to play around, and you can basically make it so that your opponent doesn't have a good outcome. Like, they can ignore your minions, but generally you're happy when that's happening. Scorch is below average, I would say. It's removal. But yeah, what I like about Splitting Image is you get so much control over what happens with it. And it's one of the hardest secrets to play around. Blast Wave is one of the biggest hit or miss cards. People won't be able to play around it early. So I think early on it'll be great. It'll probably fall off a little and then come back again towards the end of the meta. I like Blast Wave. Mage spells are good. Gain a lot of mage spells is amazing. Arcanosaur is just too expensive for what it does. Geneli, hero powering 8 times is impossible. X-Lord Malacrest is just below average, I would say. Bloodclaw is below average. I had success with it, but it's not great. It does a lot of damage. Because it's not only the 5 health you take, but you're also trading into minions. So generally, you're down like 10 health. You don't heal that much. But I think it's okay. I think it's underrated. But it's still not that great. Flash of Light, very below average. Mortal Prelate. not very good. It's just too hard to pair it with Spike Root Steed. This is just a spider tank. Timeout is unplayable. This is undraftable, literally. You don't heal 10 mana in arena, so this is a 4 mana 4/4. If you look at this as just a 5 mana 3/3 weapon, it's okay. The upside isn't a whole lot because you don't really want to be using it just to kill one. Like, you don't really want to be using this for the overkill effect. You want to be using this as a 5 mana 3/3 weapon. So it's below average, but it's a weapon, which makes it okay. A new challenger is pretty solid. I mean, you can normally get a Chillin yet. You can normally get a Sunwalker out of it, but sometimes you can high roll a Cairn. Shrivala is basically impossible to pull off. Regenerate is terrible. Draftable. Akanai Phantasm is okay. It's a very solid card because it's fairly statted and it makes your hero power deal 2 damage, and then you have some other heal cards that might be able to do something. Seance is a really strong value card. I think I may have underrated it. It's one of the best value cards because you can target your own minions and your opponents. Sand Drudge is, I don't like this card, but other people have had success with it against me. But just depends on how easy it is to draft spells. Arena doesn't have the best you don't it's very difficult to get spells most of the time, which makes it not as good. Tornado of Madness, don't even ever consider that card. Ever. 3 mana crystals is a very big deal. This card is garbage. Mass Hysteria is removal, and it's almost impossible to calculate. I'm not a fan of the card, but it is very strong. Boissambi is okay. It's just oh no, it's pretty bad, but it'll be up against bad minions. Prince, if you have ways to get minions in your hand, this can be a like if you can combo this with, it depends on your deck. You need the cards to combo before you get this card, but there's a lot of discover effects. So this could make a board that your opponent can't come back from. You don't get enough spells to make Grave Horror playable. Serrated Tooth is okay. It's a playable card because you can dagger and give your minions rush, which can be okay sometimes. Blitzo Howler is unplayable. There won't be enough pirates and Galaka crawlers around. Stolen Steel, I don't like it, but if you get Valinar, it's great. But the weapon pool won't be that good. There's no Super Collider. I don't think it'll be that great. Raiding Party is too expensive, and you probably won't have enough pirates. Walk the Plank is... It's better than Assassinate. I really like it. Brawl is awesome. You can high roll and just win the game. Because it's like a 2/2, or it's like a 4 out. The stats on it are so random, I don't even know what to say it is. But if you high roll, it's amazing. And if you medium roll, it's really good. It's only when you low roll that it's bad. Cannon Barrage is unplayable. Gurubashi Hypeman is it's solid. The stats are okay. And most minions, it's okay if they cost 1/1 and they're a 1/1. Because you're taking them for the battle cry. So it's a very solid card. I really like it. You can also like go infinite with it. Rarely though. Captain Hook Tusk is terrible. Totemic Smash. 1 mana deal 2 damage. Okay, it can go face. Wartbringer is terrible. Big Bad Voodoo is average. Below average. Delayed Evolve. I don't think it's very good. Depends on how many tools Shaman has. Like, overloading mana crystals is inconsistent. So I would say this is below average. Bog Slasher, returning a minion to your hand with a 3 mana minion isn't good. Haunting Visions is okay. Not great though. But it's a solid card. Sentimo is not enough stats, and you don't get spells often enough in Arena. You don't get spells often enough, making Krogwall not playable. Reign of Toads is a very good card. That's a lot of stats for 6 mana. Grim Rally is below average. Shriek is... It's AoE, which is awesome. And you know what you're going to discard so you can play around it a little bit. This card is not AoE. It's below average, I would say. Whereas I would say Shriek is above average. High Priestess, Jellic is okay anti-aggro. You're not going to discard it, though. So, you're not going to get that value. It's okay. Soul Warden, the 6 mana 6. Like, so, this one is the only one that you're going to get value off of the discard cards. Because you can Soulfire and discard a card. But this is basically the only one you're going to get value from, potentially. And even then, it's a 6 mana 6/6. I actually think Blood Troll Sapper is underrated, but it's understated. Demon Bolt is amazing. You basically take every Demon Bolt you get third. Hyreek is unplayable. Void Contract unplayable. Devastate is medium strength. It's alright. It's nice to have 1 or 2. If Control Warrior is a thing, Dragon Roar will be why, and being able to take 2 to 3 Dragon Roars in every draft will be essential to Warrior being strong. A lot of dragons are legendaries, and legendaries are good. You have to high roll with this to win. Overlord's Whip is below average. It's a weapon though, so sometimes you just need to take a weapon. And making Smoldering Lancer okay. If you can get a bunch of Dragon Roars, Smoldering Lancer is okay. War Master Voon. Like Dragon Roar is the limit of how greedy decks are. You can't go like double Dragon Roar into War Master Voon. You'll just die. That's generally where the limit is. Ember Skill Drake is solid minion. You don't need the Battle Cry, and it probably won't happen. Heavy Metal is undraftable. Soul Thrays is the best warrior weapon in the pool. Kali the Rhino is really good, in my opinion. You don't need that many rush minions. I will say the 2 decks that I had with Akali or 2 of the 3 decks I had with Akali the Rhino, I had 2 Akali the Rhinos. So maybe my judgment of the deck is biased to some extent. Low sample size. Gurubashi Chicken, unplayable. Gurubashi Offering, unplayable. Hopeless Hatchling, basically unplayable. Serenite Taskmaster is below average, but it's a 1-drop, but it's not great. Belligerent Gnome is below average, but it's anti-aggro, so it can be okay. Booty Bay Bucky is unplayable. Cheaty Anklebiter, Lifesteal Battlecry, deal 1 damage. So it heals you for 1, and you get to shoot something with a ping, making it okay. It's a very versatile card. Dozing Marksman unplayable. If you can get enough dragons, Fire Tree Witch Doctor is great. I think you want minimum 3 dragons before drafting it. Scarab Egg is terrible. Serpent Ward, terrible. Sharkfin Fan. Below average, but playable in Rogue and only Rogue. Shield Breaker I think is okay. Something like generally the only thing you want to silence in Arena is taunts. And this silence taunts for cheap. It's a tech card, but I think it's okay. Soup Vendor is basically unplayable. Healing for 3 health at a time is difficult. Doing it with a terrible minion on the board is more difficult. Berserker is a Crocolisk with upside. Water Boy is pretty bad. Banana Buffoon, I never liked this card. Other people did. I think it's bad though. Drakari Trickster, I think it's a lot better than Spellslinger. I think Spider Tanks will win you game. At least that's how it was in the Razakhan meta. So Spider Tanks are really good. I take as many of them as I can. Mass Contender is a 3-mana 2/3. You'll never pull off the Battle Cry. Ordinary Dire Horn. I like this card. It kills me sometimes so much that I like it. But it's just a ton of stats. Don't take too many of these in Rogue, but it's really good. Untamed Beastmaster, another Spider Tank with massive upside. Giving a beast in your hand +2/+2 makes it such an insane tempo play. Arena Fanatic is terrible. Do not get baited. It says Arena in its name. It is not a good Arena card. Same with Arena Treasure Chest. I put these at a similar level. They are both very bad. Grifta is a very average card. You can screw yourself over. Generally, you want to take like 2 bad cards because you don't want to lose the game on the spot. It's a Yeti that will mess with the game. I'm not a big fan of it. Although I opened a golden one, so I might have to play with it. Halftime Scavenger is solid. It's a very solid card going second or first. But it's a solid defensive card. Ice Cream Peddler, you'll never get the Battle Cry. It's just a 4-mana 3/5. This is bad. Regenerating Thug it's better than most 3-mana 3/5s, but it's still just a 5. This is one of the better 4-drops that Razakhan Rumble has. It's sticky. I like it. Ticket Sculper is okay in Rogue, and that's about it. It can be okay in Mage as well. You have to control the board and protect it. The payoff is nice. You'd rather just have an Elven Minstrel for sure. It's basically undraftable in any other class. Arena Patron, unplay. It's funny how any card that says Arena in it is just unplayable in Arena. Dragon Moss Scorcher. Super Premium, neutral removal. Draft as many of these as you can. Former Champ will probably be the class of the 5-drops that's just stats. Very good. Mashog Announcer is the bane of my existence. I hate this card. It is very strong. Arena is based on minion combat. This is something that sometimes just won't ever die to minion combat. Very strong. Sightless Ranger it has initiative. It's okay. A lot of the other cards I was just talking about I think are better, but this is an okay 5-drop. Snapjaw Shelf Fighter. Whenever an adjacent minion takes damage, this minion takes it instead. The biggest reason I think this is such a good card is most people don't understand how it works. They can read they read the card over and over again, and they will still make mistakes trading. So because of that, it's a solid card. Mojo Master Zihi is not good. Basically ever. Amani Warbear, another premium card. You take as many of these as you can. Crowd Roaster is a dragon itself, and if you get a handful of dragons, this battle cry is insane. Even though the minion isn't very sticky, the battle cry by far more than makes up for it. Line Cracker, a win condition. Not always the best choice for a big drop, but you can win like this thing kills 2 minions, you win the game. A Ramble Bouncer can be okay. I would say it's a little below average, but it can be okay. The Undertaker. Has it been confirmed you can cast bees on your own minions? Because I hope that's not a thing. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's spooky. As people talk about it, I don't think that that should be a thing, though. The Undertaker is just too slow for Arena. Moshog Enforcer, I hope this isn't a thing. Towards the end of the Razakhan meta, people were drafting it. Before that, they weren't. Black Knight will be one of the best legendaries, just a heads up. Undasta. Yeah, Overkill wouldn't work because Overkill is only when you attack, not when others attack. So that combo, Linecracker Bees won't work, Jake. I don't think. Maybe it will, but hopefully it doesn't. Undasta is good. You have to build your deck around it a little bit, but there's a lot of big bees. It's a pretty good card. Hakar is pretty bad. It's expensive, and the stats aren't that good, and the effect is random, so not that great. So that is the review of the old sets that we're going to be rotating in. We don't know all the new cards yet. I might do a review of that at a later time. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you